of you watching has one of these? Who has a virtual reality headset? And can you remember when those things like started happening? And this is now some time ago, good 5 years, right? Everybody got their panties in a twist. And it's gonna revolutionize computers, it's gonna revolutionize gaming. Now we have a little bit more of that hype coming with Apple's headset, which is basically the same bullshit anyways. And a big part of the things that we're gonna talk about here today is, of course, uh, the hype that some things bring along with it, and how that is actually related to the reality of things, which is very often very different, and sometimes people only notice 5 years down the line, right? So I'll also quickly tag everyone here so we can see that everyone can see that the stream is live. If you can hear me, if you can see me, as always, please give me a quick like, quick comment here. For one, so that I see that my janky streaming setup is actually working, and also basically to help the algorithm along, right? Then more people see that we're live, and then the more the merrier, right? Because this is an interactive kind of thing. You might have questions about specific topics. I am here to answer them, right? And if you're ready to actually dive deep today, get some insights, right? Doesn't really matter. I'm always also very interested in where you're from. Obviously, I'm here in Austria, in Vienna. But where are you from? Let me know. Let's have a chat, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to have some fun and get some insights. And specifically today, very interesting topic. This is something that really now, at this point in time, we can't ignore anymore. Right? So I have the chat here open. But we can't ignore anymore. Now it's 2024. This is not long, but it's now 2024. And now kind of we are at the stage where we need to think about, is now artificial intelligence taking over the world? Or maybe it isn't, or what's going to happen, right? It's definitely becoming a part of our lives now, right? You already figured that one out. And having said that, right, now is the time to have a look at how it can actually be useful for programmers and those who are learning to become programmers, right? So I see some chats here coming in. People from all over the world. This is always fun. Like from Denmark, hello, Ken, Kurt, and where from Melbourne, right? All the good stuff. Los Angeles, all the good stuff. Okay, welcome. So I got another question for you, dudes and dudettes, right? Are you currently using any AI tools to code or to learn how to code for programming related stuff? Then also let me know that in the chat. Let me know what tool are you using and what you are using it for, right? And we'll have a little conversation about that. So are you using some kind of tool? Yeah, ChatGPT-4, instant response here, instant response. Yes, everybody. But what do you use it for? Like to produce some code, like productively, or as a tool to help you learn and understand? Let me know that. Let's have a conversation. Tell on everybody else like here, Govind, right, using a lot of AI tools. What's your experience with that, right? Does it boost your confidence in some way? Or when you start using that, are you a bit scared that like the AI is gonna replace you as a software engineer? Do you maybe feel like, oh, now it's gonna be even harder to get an entry-level job? Right? So give me your thoughts on that. I'll give you mine in a second. So we have a bunch of people, also here, Meryl from the Netherlands, and yeah, ChatGPT is definitely a thing. What is the question here? I use it to complete tasks, not help. What do you mean by that, right? So you just stuck on something and then you feed it to ChatGPT and have it figure it out and then you move along. Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Okay, so today we'll tackle two things, right? First, we'll have a quick look at the current technologies, what it actually is, how it works, because when you better understand what you're working with, right, then you know how to get the best out of it. And on the other hand, I'll show you today what the best ways actually are to use things like ChatGPT, like Copilot, right? Because if you want to get the most out of it, you need to have some weird strategies, basically, so it actually provides you with the value that you want, right? Okay, so as it always goes, I prepared for today's live class a little bit. I usually don't prepare one. I prepared a little bit, okay, and I wanted to collect some examples, right, on how like the whole endeavor behaves a little bit weirdly, right? But this happened. It happened again, right? Yeah. Something might have gone wrong. Okay, what happened? There was an outage. Okay, so first lesson learned, right? Can't really rely on it like to be there when you need it, and of course it will exactly fail at that exact moment when you need it the most, right? But of course that won't stop us from talking about like showing you how to do this and how you get ahead of the curve right after this call, right? So it doesn't really matter. So I'll have another slide here. I'm just too stupid for slides. Sorry about that. All right. So this is really one thing that I find to be very funny. You see, there is this little thing down, or it can make mistakes. Consider checking important information. And I would say consider is not the right word for that, right? ChatGPT primarily makes mistakes, right? Primarily produces code that looks good, right? But that doesn't really work. So that doesn't matter. Right? I mean, it's useful. We'll get into that. We'll get into how this is useful. Also, I have some example here. Okay, I said okay. Then we'll go to Copilot. Right? I don't know if this video will work. And this is the experience that you will have, that we have. The Copilot experience is a little bit like that, right? Where we're working on some kind of code service, right? And it will start to predict a thing. Does this work? I don't know. Click the play button. God dang it. Right. It will predict a thing, right? We will write some code, okay, and it kind of looks okay, right? It looks reasonable, but it just invented a method that doesn't even exist, right? So instantly, instantly at that point, it is not providing any proper value, to be honest, and it's not gonna change in the future. This is also something you need to be aware of. I'm just trying to undo my thing. I'm obviously too stupid to do presentations. Hey, that's not my job. I'm a programmer. And we'll get to the slides, the other slides in a second, right? So this is how it goes if you're live and you don't know what you're doing. The thing is, you need to do it properly. And then I see things like that, right? I use it to build my program from scratch instead of troubleshooting. If ChatGPT didn't exist, I would be forced to put in my own effort and make a better product overall. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? I don't know what kind of products you produce with ChatGPT only. I would be very interested in that, but I don't think it's gonna take you pretty far, right? Okay, so it really doesn't matter if you're a complete noob or if you're a junior dev already. If you know the magic and if you do it right, it's all happy days. And you need to be aware of that every time you have a look at this, the whole AI field. This is relatively new, especially the language models. And it is changing rapidly, right? And there's some randomness to it. But now's the time to pay close attention, basically, because if you do this wrong, like if you use that in a wrong way, the negative effects will compound, right? So what we'll have here is the current state, the findings that me and my coaches basically have, right? All senior developers for decades. And before we go too deep into that, you need to understand, if you don't really have the understanding, you need to understand that there are many things that are called AI and that are called machine learning. Okay? There are things that were called AI back in the day, but are not labeled that way anymore, right? Because we got accustomed to it. There are things like, yeah, I don't know, chess programs, right? Oh, it's like, oh, it's super intelligent. We had chatbots. Oh, it's like an artificial intelligence. But things like Eliza, like the first chatbot ever, and people lost their shit. But we get used to that. Okay, so the thing is, the goalpost moves all the time. Now we need to talk about now, not in the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s. When people are talking about AI nowadays, they usually mean a specific kind of generative AI, which comes in basically two flavors nowadays. This is a generative AI for generating images and large language models, right? So what all of those things do, and this is what they're designed to do, they take some input and generate additional information based on that prompt. This cannot be images or text. Cool beans. The first important thing is that large language models are not smart, right? You really need to understand this, that they don't understand anything. They don't reason. They don't understand context, even if it gives the impression that it does, right? So there is like this. You need to get this in your head, right? It is a highly optimized statistical system to generate plausible text. Okay, that's what it is. And the keyword here to consider is plausible, right? Because it's dumb as a rock, but it is very eloquent. And you really, really, really need to understand this. It will seem like it follows your thoughts. It will seem like it reasons, but it doesn't. And this is then where the problem comes in. In general, it's not a bad thing, right? You just need to be aware of it, that it's basically autocomplete that you have on a phone on steroids. And this is, so it is very good at putting words after each other that look reasonable, right? Keep that in mind for later. It really says, hey, usually after those words, this word happened, right? Because it has learned from learning data. You know? And how does it know which word comes after another word, right? We don't need to go into detail because that would take 2 days. But basically, it was fed an ungodly amount of conversation that you find on the internet. That's also something to keep in mind. We'll get back to it, right? But it basically learned how conversations on the internet usually go, okay? And if you've been on the internet, well, you might start to see some issue with that. If you want to like dive a little deeper in detail, and let me know in the chat. I find it highly interesting and fun to talk about this. But I'll make one analogy here that I found to be very, like, give you a good picture of what is actually happening. And the analogy is, think of somebody becoming a really good actor, right? So Keanu Reeves has a role as an astronaut in a movie, right? And then he has another movie and he plays another astronaut, right? And then there's another movie and he plays another astronaut, and he gets more and more believable as an astronaut, right? And after that, even if it's the most realistic astronaut, looks like the most realistic astronaut, doesn't really make him an astronaut, right? And if you ask him about some space stuff, he'd probably give you an answer that you probably accept because he uses the right terms, the right mannerisms an astronaut would use. And because you're not an astronaut, you will probably believe him, right? Can you get like the analogy here? It's very good at pretending to be something, but if you then, after all those years of playing an astronaut, put Keanu Reeves into a rocket, it's not gonna be a fun day. Okay. So if you have that concept in your head, what do we do with that knowledge? Right? You use it to your advantage. So really don't use it to write code. And somebody here can, right? Don't do that. You're not gonna finish your project. It's not gonna be good. And yes, like for little tiny things, if you're just building your calculator, it can vomit that out. It can solve your lead code questions because there is a solution online, right? But usually code has more context and it can't comprehend that, right? And very often it will just be nonsense. What you can use it for is to write some boilerplate code that you already know how to write, but you're just too lazy to do it yourself, right? So some random stuff. So give me a populated string array with all the world's countries, right? Something like this. Okay, have at it. That's fine. And now let's look at slides again, because I kind of forgot about that. So here we are, right? Now we're getting into tips. And this is really, really key ingredient. If you start doing this, you'll see a huge improvement in the quality of answers that you get. And you need to talk to it like you're talking to somebody smart. Why is that? Because it doesn't understand, but it will basically look at its data set, at conversations that look like smart people have had the conversation, right? So that's the thing. That's a bad prompt, right? That's a good prompt. If you ask a human that, they will understand it's the same question. If you ask a language model that, they have no context, they have no concept. But for a presentation that is targeted towards, like if you have like the highbrow thing, it will look at highbrow conversations that it has seen and it will produce better results. Okay, that's very important. What you can also do is very, very nice here. After you put your prompt in, you can actually tell it to rate your prompt, so you can get a little feedback if it's a good prompt, because it has seen prompts before. So that's the kind of feedback cycle that's very interesting, I find. And when you're actually asking for code samples, two things. One thing is I think that's not here, right? Need to go back, right? One thing, right? If you run out of things, like the code stops, you can just ask it to continue, which is very useful. You can tell it to just output only the code, which is very useful. And two key things, point number 3 here, whatever. Ask for clarification before giving the answer. Add that to your prompts and it will ask for more clarification. It will give you better answers. And again, you need to be aware that it's not because now it's asking you things and understanding more about the problem. It is now it's looking at the area of data where somebody reasoned their steps that they put on the internet, which is usually a better answer, better quality answer. And also what you can add here, it's not on the slides, but write it down, memorize it. If you have coding questions, add, I am a senior developer, right? Just add that. And suddenly you get more concise answers, again, because it then picks, like its word, mumbo jumbo from areas where senior developers had conversations and not just a bunch of noobs, right? Okay. Then we have also funny stuff, right? We have funny stuff, like we'll talk about funny stuff as well. If you can click the slides, god damn it, I'm incompetent. Look at me, weird stuff, right? This is very, very funny. Again, you give it roles and personas, which again improves the output, right? Using ChatGPT like for interview practice is pretty good. Be my interviewer for XYZ job position. Or you can also tell something, hey, you are a university professor, you are an experienced software developer, preface it with that, and you'll get better answers, right? Again, things like, let's think step by step. Add to your prompt, write your reasoning, right? You're not suddenly convincing a system to think more about it. You're instructing it to look at data set where somebody put down their reasoning. And usually a content piece on the internet where somebody actually wrote the reasoning down for what they did will be better source material, right? That's really key. That's really key if you understand those things. Now let's talk about a few more things that are useful. Where it's useful, yeah. Porting small snippets of code from one language to another. Yeah, you have a bit of Python code, relatively simple one. You want to port it to C#, easy peasy. Let it do that. It does a good job of that. Use it for what it was built, and that is text generation, right? It's really good at writing or rephrasing your CV, your LinkedIn bio text, right? That's what it's made for. This is what it's really good at. This is what you should be using it for. Is anyone worried that it will take away jobs? No. Nobody's worried. Look at the job market. God dang it, they're desperately looking for devs, even junior positions. AI is already here, hasn't. And it's not gonna take over, right? Because it doesn't do the thing you think it does. Because it doesn't think, doesn't reason. It produces plausible text. And code needs to not be plausible, it needs to be correct. And it just can't do that by design. Right? So don't believe the hype. Back in the day when Microsoft Excel came out, people were worried, oh no, nobody is gonna need bookkeepers anymore because everybody can just have their own finances in their own Excel sheet. And that's 30 years ago. We still have bookkeepers. They use Excel, yes, but the job still exists, right? When file sharing systems happened, everybody lost their mind. Oh shit, people now download music for free. The music industry is gonna take a nosedive. Didn't happen, right? People share music, people still buy music. I don't think that like Apple Music or Sony is doing bad at the moment, right? Like when VCRs came out, if you're young, you don't know, like you could save your TV shows, right? Nobody will buy movies anymore, right? All these kinds of hypes happen, right? The important thing is don't believe the hype. If you're in the business of becoming a programmer, there will still be Jesus, I'll still be programming jobs 10 years from now, right? LLM AI will help you with that, but we do have tools. We have invented tools for programming since day one. This is why we have higher level programming languages. This is why we have version control systems. This is why we have IDEs, right? We have all those tools, and AI will be a small part of that, but that doesn't take away from the things we actually do. Right? Bitcoin didn't topple capitalism. Nothing has happened. And again, AI tools they do the best when they generate and transform text, and you should use it like that. And like my friends, my peers, my software engineer peers and their clients, we have been playing around with this since 2018 when GPT-2 was released, right? And by now we have a pretty good grasp of where all of this is going. And also we are now incorporating this with our students in the right way. So really the takeaway here is don't fear the change, embrace it. If you actually want to really dig deep into learning programming with AI, we can have a personal conversation about that. Just put the words AI chat in the comment down below. I'd be happy to have a conversation, talk for hours about those kind of things because I really, really like to talk about it. And it is an interesting topic, even if it will not replace us, which is fine, right? Which is fine. So if you want that, put AI chat in the chat box below. I'll reach out to you. We'll have a conversation. I've been writing software for 20 years now, right? And I was very excited. Everybody was excited when the news dropped that AI can now write reasonable code. And I was very excited. I was maybe a little too much excited back then, right? But now the dust is settling. You can also feel like in the media, like the AI hype has reached its peak already. It's dying down, right? The dust is settling, and the fact is we are far away from the machines taking over, right? But it also turns out having a very stupid but eloquent coding buddy is a nice thing if you use it right? So I'm doing this because so many people genuinely want to learn how to program and they give up and they're being discouraged. Some people question their intelligence along the way. Oh, maybe I'm too stupid for that. Oh, maybe I don't have the correct brain wiring to become a programmer. And people then they give up, right? So okay, just keep working in the restaurant then, right? And they give up not because programming is hard, okay, but because there's no clear guidance on what to do and when to do it and the order of things to do it. right? And it is extremely hard to figure this out by yourself, to figure out how to build something on your own. And so many people have quit for all the wrong reasons. So if you want some help, just reach out to me, right? I'm here to help. Seriously, that's what I do now, right? I have a whole operation going. So I've been ranting about this now for a long time. We still have a few minutes left, so I will now have a quick look at the chat. General Q&A time, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions, might it be AI related, might it be learning programming related, might it be related to any of those things, I will answer them now. So put that in the chat. I'll have a look at the chat. What we have here, we have one comment. My point is ChatGPT is good for simple tasks, but for large project is bad. Yes, right? But this is the thing. Simple tasks are simple. Nobody's paying you to just do simple tasks. Okay, simple tasks are a part of building something bigger. Yes, but the code that ChatGPT can reliably create and is so small that you can just write it yourself. God dang it! It really is not a big benefit. And also to actually convince it, right, to, how should I say, produce proper code. You need to be so precise, very precise. You need to type it out very precisely, and then you can kind of get it to produce good code. But the reason is that the problem here is that is what programming is. That is what a programming language is. A programming language are precise instructions for the computer. Okay, so you don't need like a precise word description for it to translate it to programming language. Like that, there is no additional value added. It's just adding a stepping stone in between, and then you don't win anything, right? What else do we have? This is an interesting one. I find this style of communication is very important when promoting ChatGPT, like probably using it. Yes, that's what we just talked about. You need to emulate part of a conversation that smart people once had on the internet, right? If you replicate that, you'll get basically answers from that data set. If you talk to it like a farmer, you'll get responses that some farmer probably said some time ago. Thoughts on custom APIs? Is it useful? That is a question that can't be answered. Like, give me context. What kind of APIs? What for custom? Like, if you build your own API, it's custom, yes. Does it provide some value? Maybe. Are you the dude that just thinks you can just create some APIs with ChatGPT and then charge for it and get rich? No, you can't. You just no, right? Because if it were that easy, like then if I need such an API, I will generate it myself. Right? Nobody's gonna pay you for that. Nobody's gonna pay you for haphazardly throwing something together. So if that's kind of your deal, then no bueno, right? What else do I have? I don't know exactly how to get started. What are some foundation everybody needs to know? Okay. Give you a little context, right? Are you a complete newbie? Have you never programmed like one line of code in your life? Or have you dabbled? Have you looked at things? If you want to know a good starting point, send me a message. We recently had a live stream just like this, specifically on how to find a good starting point. That's basically 45 minutes of me explaining to you how to have a solid starting point that makes sense, where you don't lose motivation along the way, right? So if you want that, send me a quick message here. I'll send you the recording of that, right? Okay, Victoria here. Good evening. I'm really relieved. I got an average of 77% on my cybersecurity exams. Good for you, Victoria. Happy days. It's always good to hear if you succeed. 77%. It's good. It's good. Cool. Are you doing this in school, or what's the situation? Or did you do some kind of certificate? That's nice. Okay, so yeah, I don't really have more chats coming in. I'll give it a few more minutes. But all in all, you need to realize that programming is a very complex thing, it's a very human thing. And even if ChatGPT emulates that very well, it doesn't do the proper task. And the proper task is problem solving with code. And ChatGPT doesn't. ChatGPT rearranges and invents things that look like code. And that is not what we programmers get paid for. And you also know when, like, you need to see it realistic. We are programmers. I'm a software engineer. I get a shitload of money and I sit around in my underpants typing on my keyboard, right? That's a very nice life to have, okay? That's very cool. But if it were that easy that every farmer just types some shit into ChatGPT and then suddenly there's an application, like the software engineering wouldn't be worth much, okay? Right? So there is really, this is very instant. If it is super easy, then you don't get paid for it, right? So you don't even need to understand how ChatGPT works or programming works. It is the thing, right? If it is just, oh, everybody can do it, I'll just have 20 minutes conversation with ChatGPT and then have a piece of software that I can sell, then everybody would be doing that. It's not that easy, right? It's not gonna be that easy, okay? So that's the point. You can still, what you should do, this is what I do, what is what I help my clients with, actually understand how programming works, actually understand how software engineering works, and then get a proper job, and then do the same thing and work in your underpants and be a happy man. Okay. If you want some help with that, like this is what I do. I provide services, my dear friend. If you want that, send me a message. Let's have a quick conversation about how to do this properly. Also, if you want just a good starting point, I'm here to help. Send me a DM or send something, put it in the chat down here. Even if you're watching this on recording, right? We record this, we can watch the recording later. I'll go through the comments later. If you're interested in any kind of those things, I will also message you, right? So, no more messages are coming in. Ken is very amused about me not wearing underpants. I'm not wearing pants. I'm wearing underpants. And yeah, until next time, if you have some questions, hit me up. And yeah, see you soon. See you in the group. Have a nice evening to Australia, to Los Angeles, and where all your sweet people are. See you soon.